the way that AI is changing the way that we think and plan premium video is in a kind of couple of key areas. The first one is within some of our own internal flows. So knowledge management, knowledge transfer about what works for a particular vertical, a particular client. We're now starting to store that in a more meaningful way so that our people across the organization, we're a very scaled organization, can access that information, transfer those insights, and then put that into the planning process and obviously the activation process. Within our own tools and systems, we've been moving very fast to integrate generative AI into all aspects of audience discovery, audience delivery, campaign optimization and planning. And that falls through then to some of the technical workflows that we have within the platforms as well. So we are finding more efficient ways to get campaigns up at a reasonable cost to serve to our clients at significant scale. And of course then the different optimizations across bidding and campaign delivery throughout that as well. There's a lot more to come. I would say that we're actually still relatively early in that journey right now. And we are seeing, of course, as well for certain cohorts of clients, new capabilities that weren't necessarily available to them. So I think it's been really important for a lot of the video ecosystem to find incremental business from, let's say, the mid-market and from the long tail. And because of some of the capabilities within generative AI around copy delivery, copy creation, creative optimization, we're now seeing some of those clients begin to graduate into this format. So that's great for everyone. It brings new investment into the industry. It brings a lot of new creative capabilities for those clients as well to move beyond channels where they feel safe and perhaps they have not felt comfortable moving into in the past. So it's ultimately a really exciting time right now.
And you mentioned this is still early days for AI integration, the ones that Dentsu is doing, others. Wanted to get a sense, though, about agentic buying. What does it actually enable, and how does it improve upon the traditional methods of buying?
Of course, absolutely. And the traditional methods of buying have served us really well up until this point, and many aspects of those will continue to serve us really well from now on into the future. But there are a few things that AIs and autonomous agents are going to be really, really effective at and really good at that are going to change things. So the first one is the ability to optimize and make changes at a line item, at a bid optimization level on a millisecond time period. This is something that obviously a living human being is not capable of doing today or probably ever. And of course, that still comes with requirements for human intervention, human supervision, policy setting, and things like that. But nevertheless, having that level of optimization, that level of feedback between data in, data out, and then coming back to fuel the optimization is going to be a real game changer once we're able to do that at scale. The second thing I think that is worth mentioning is that whilst humans are amazing at pattern recognition, the ability to go and bring this into so many dimensions that are going to be available through agents, through cleaner data integrations and a more transparent data ecosystem is going to allow pattern recognition on a whole new level. The ability to combine cultural signals with signals that we see traditionally in the auction, between more financial and economic signals that we are seeing like on the particular campaign that we're delivering, and of course client results. That's going to allow us to be able to go and bring a real performance focus to premium video, but also balancing it with what premium video has always been great at, which is obviously brand building and upper funnel awareness as well.
And I was also hoping you could walk me through the ideas surrounding open modular platforms, and why are they becoming non-negotiable for advertisers right now?
So I think we are at a relatively early stage when we talk about modularity within platforms, but I do think that there is a few key unlocks with the scaling of those platforms and those opportunities now that I do think is going to make them a non-negotiable for certain advertisers in the future, and certainly something very attractive for many on the demand side. The first one is we're seeing value become a lot more atomized. We have, for the last maybe 5 to 8 years, we've seen value being very tightly bound within the ecosystem, fully integrated ecosystems across supply, through to technology, and of course to media. We have seen the ability for AI to start influencing very, very large segments of spend. But I think what's come with that is there's been a little bit of a drop-off in the understanding of how AI is delivering on the actual outcomes that we are driving through some of those platforms. I think there's a real hunger for us to be able to go and get a better view of how AI drives the performance, and then obviously to be able to use those inputs to go and then obviously run back into the campaign and deliver better results. I think also what's really, really important is our ability as agencies to be able to go and deliver our own intellectual property into the ecosystem again. And I think when you think about the amount of know-how, the amount of knowledge, the amount of data that sits within the demand side across different parts of it, the ability for us to be able to use that to model, to be able to go and create certain value that is unique to us, and then combine that with new data signals that maybe weren't available in that more kind of monolithic supply chain. It's really, really exciting as well. And I think now when you come across CES, you'll have seen so many different data providers here that you wouldn't have seen a few years ago across way beyond audiences. We're talking about real live intent. We're talking about cultural. We're talking about alternative signals across audience and demand. I just think it's really, really exciting, and that's only enabled by a more modular platform and activation system.
So that also leads us to, with automation increasing across the board, where does human judgment still matter the most?
That's a great question, and we've been talking a lot here about the benefits of agentic and AI and all of the things that it can do and these superhuman powers it has. But I think the thing that's really exciting for me is it allows humans to go back to being what humans are really, really good at, and actually making that a much more valuable commodity than maybe it's felt for quite some time. We have to think about AI soberly. There is going to be occasionally alignment challenges with AI. It requires human supervision. The way I would think about it is we're not talking about setting and forgetting, we're talking about setting and supervising. We, over time, will become more policymakers. We will set the models for the agents. We will set the policies for the agents. And then we will make the judgment calls on whether a particular approach or a particular strategy is culturally relevant, culturally appropriate. We, of course, have to consider brand suitability. We have to be very concerned with regulatory concerns as well. And then, of course, there's that last bit, which is how do we make sure that we can break out of the algorithm too? In a world where agents are dominating how media is bought, has transacted, and obviously it's measured and optimized, the ability for brands to stand out in a really different way is going to be critical. And whilst that inventive step may come from agents in some cases, I think it's going to come from the humans.
Lastly, Ant, I wanted to get your thoughts on the evolution of premium video. What do you see are the opportunities and the risks as the nature of premium video evolves?
So I feel like I might be talking a bit of a cliche here when I talk about the funnel collapsing and the collapse of the funnel, but there is a reality here that there is a very non-linear path through the funnel now, if indeed the funnel exists. Your mileage may vary on that particular interpretation, but I do think that through that we have seen that premium video will become increasingly both a brand and a demand driver. It already is in many cases, but I think you're going to see that happen a lot more at scale. That's obviously been enabled by the digitization of the medium. It's been enabled hugely by streaming and the growth in streaming. It will be supercharged by autonomous agents, by AI. And I think that's really exciting. That's going to bring new investment into the medium. It's going to bring a lot more new creative opportunities within the medium. And I think it's going to be really, really cool for brands as well to be able to seamlessly move between those different tactics, depending on the different inputs that they are getting from their businesses as well, what's important to them, what's happening obviously in the wider culture of the wider supply chain as well. I think when we think about tailwinds, it's probably worth mentioning, that we have as custodians in the industry, we have a big responsibility on us now. I mentioned earlier about ensuring that alignment is right between autonomous agents and what is important to brands and what is good for society and what's good for the industry. And I think that it's going to be really, really critical that we think about how we drive great performance, great results from premium video, but also making sure that it still delivers on what it's always been great at. We can't sacrifice the impact, the creative possibilities of the medium just for clicks or just for CPAs. And I think that balance is going to be really interesting. And I think it's a human balance to make. I think it's a human judgment call to make. So it's great. There's lots of opportunities. There's a few tailwinds, and I think it's ultimately going to be down to us as custodians on how we navigate that.